At the time, I didn't see my parents as being a help. I saw them as being a massive hindrance. Cred and fitting in for a 12-year-old boy is life. And so there's absolutely no cred and no, and no fitting in when you're the dumb kid staying down. I've got to go right back to my early history as a human being to answer that question. But I grew up in a very, very small rural location. And in the little town where I grew up, in order to keep the second teacher in the primary school, they needed 7 more students. And I was 4 years old, and next thing I know, I'm going to school. Well, in those days, I didn't kind of realise that 4 was probably a bit too young to kind of go to school. That was how my mum told me the story, that every year they would go back to our teachers and plead with them to keep me down. And every year they would plead with my parents to say, no, don't, he's going to destroy him, he's always going to be dumb. So whenever I was in the classroom, I had a nervous feeling in my stomach. And I now know that that nervous feeling was anxiety. And that was the fear of being asked the question, because I didn't know what was going on, let alone the answer. When I did 6th grade a second time, once again by about Easter, all of a sudden this nervous feeling that I had was not there anymore. And this idea that I could actually understand what was going on in the class, I could spell some of the words, I could do some of the sums, I knew what was kind of going on, and for the first time in my career, my hand went up to answer a question. And so after that point in time, I learnt the skill of being able to ask a question. And because I was always perceived to be the dumb kid, I didn't care whether it was a dumb question. So that thing that I can do now, and have always been able to do since 6th grade, is feel confidence in myself to ask the dumb question. You only really kind of galvanise in your mind around understanding the concept much later when people ask you to reflect on stuff. And so it's really kind of going back in time and go, well, who played critical roles either in a formal or an informal way in me understanding things that have got me to where I wanted to go. I think about mentoring as being, kind of guides who understand you better than you understand yourself. It was my parents who were really my first ever mentors. They knew me better than I knew myself, and put their foot down as a kind of adults that were kind of guiding me in life to make that decision for me to stay down. And I hated them for it at the time. And so there are kind of 2 types of mentors. There are those sort of, I've got a decision to make that sort of relates to who I am and how I interact with the world, and there's those sort of mentors. And then there's those subject matter experts. And they're kind of 2 different types of mentors. But I think you approach both the same way. I've kind of got this eclectic mix of networks that some know each other and some don't know each other, but kind of intuitively by the nature of the issue or where you're stuck, that having a chat with this person or that person is the way to go. And in my experience, in trying to combine what's in your head with what's in your heart, so something having been kind of true to who you are in the way you make decisions, I often find that the answer arrives ultimately. So when I try to overthink stuff, it still doesn't work, but you let it go and you'll find yourself going for a jog or hanging out at the pool or driving a car, and that's where it goes, bang, I've got it now. My name's Matt Pfehlert. I'm co-founder and CEO of the Australian Centre for Rural Entrepreneurship. And we exist to build thriving rural communities through igniting entrepreneurship in young people and their communities.